Welcome to the first ever virtual State of the Schools event. I'm Kristen Simpkins, president of the Tustin Public Schools Foundation. Like everyone else right now, we are adapting to our ever-changing environment. I am proud to be a part of the Tustin community where we are acknowledging that this year has been tough, to say the least. And yet, we rise. We're modeling for our kids how to navigate through this unexpected pandemic, how to detour and reinvent situations and events, and how to look for silver linings during quarantine. This event is a good example of adapting, being resilient, and celebrating the powerful necessity of coming together as a community to make a very difficult time so much better. I'd like to thank our opening act, the TUSD Honor Choir, for their incredible performance of Better Together. This choir was supported by a Tustin Public Schools Foundation Innovative Grant earlier this year. This is an example of the power of your donations. I'm sure there are plenty of you out there wondering, who is TPSF, or the Tustin Public Schools Foundation? We are a nonprofit foundation established over 30 years ago who partners with TUSD to help all Tustin Unified students to succeed. The Honor Choir's song was perfect for our message today. TPSF works with TUSD to figure out how we can be better together. Better Together, we would like to thank our incredible sponsors of the event. Their generous support allows us to continue our mission. A special thank you to our major sponsors, the Tustin Auto Center, Florida Virtual School, and Paper. During these unprecedented times, the Foundation would also like to thank our amazing school board, administrators, teachers, and staff who have done what we would have thought impossible pre-pandemic. They literally changed how they do their jobs from start to finish with organization, creativity, and positivity. No other time in our history can we recall so much change in such a short period of time. Before we get to Dr. Franklin's presentation, which will address many of your questions, please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, led by some Tustin Unified students.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you, TUSD students, and thank you, Kristen at TPSF. Hello, I'm Francine Cinto, President of the Tustin Unified School District Board of Education. Before I introduce our main speaker, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank my colleagues on the Tustin Unified School District Board. Lynn Davis, Vice President, Jonathan Abelov, Clerk, Tammy Bullard, Member, and James Laird, Member. I have served on the Tustin Unified School District Board for the past 24 years, and it has been one of the greatest honors of my lifetime. This is my final year on the board, and I greatly appreciate all of the board members' work and collaboration, as well as the accomplishments and dedicated work of our fantastic teachers, administrators, and classified staff in support of our award-winning schools and amazing students. I also want to thank all the parents, school volunteers, community leaders, service clubs and groups, and the Tustin Public Schools Foundation for all of their help and support over the years. It has been an incredible journey, including building 10 new schools and passing 3 bond measures. It has been a journey I will never forget. Now, I would like to introduce our main speaker, Dr. Greg Franklin. Dr. Franklin has served as Tustin Unified Superintendent for 10 years and has worked in public education for 36 years. Among his accomplishments, Dr. Franklin was named California Superintendent of the Year and Orange County Superintendent of the Year in 2014. He's also received Golden Bell Awards from the California School Boards Association for many curriculum programs. Dr. Franklin is passionate about preparing students to enter the global workforce through integration of technology, real-world applications, and rigorous instruction. I am proud and honored to introduce a dedicated educator who believes in capturing kids' hearts and helping every student be successful now and in the future, Dr. Greg Franklin.
Hello, Tustin Unified School District. This is Greg Franklin, Superintendent of Schools. I'm pleased to be with you today to bring you a State of the Schools presentation, one that we would normally do at breakfast at one of the school gyms, but doing it virtually as everything else these days. Before we start the presentation, I really want to thank Tustin Public Schools Foundation. Whether you're a volunteer, on their board, a supporter, or a sponsor, we really appreciate the partnership in everything we do in Tustin with TPSF. I also want to take a moment and thank our school board, who gives vision and leadership to the entire district. They've been a terrific group and continue to lead strongly with kids first and foremost in their thoughts. The next group I want to recognize is our classified and our certificated staff and our principals and management team. The Tustin Unified School District staff is by far the best I've ever been associated with, and I'm so proud of their work all the time, but especially in these difficult times of the pandemic. I also want to recognize a group I work closely with, and that's the Executive Cabinet. Tony Soria is our Chief Business Official, Dr. Chuck Lewis in HR, Dr. Maggie Villegas in Ed Services, Dr. Grant Litvin in Admin Services, Dr. Amy Lambert in Special Ed, Chris Matos in Ed Services, and Mark Elliott, our Director of Communications. I also need to give a shout out to my assistant, Dina Hendrickson, who always puts these things together with me, and I appreciate her support, as well as Cesar Ordiano, our producer of this film. The 1920 school year started off, as most of our school years do, with recognition and awards. We're all very proud of Hicks Canyon for their California Distinguished School Award. And as a matter of fact, I don't think Hicks Canyon has ever not been a distinguished school. Every time they're eligible to apply, they've been granted that distinguished and prestigious award. Congratulations to Principal Dina Vella and the entire staff and community. We also have our teachers recognized, as usual, as County Teachers of the Year and finalists. Really proud of Rick McKinley, a social studies teacher at Foothill High, who was an Orange County semifinalist in the Teacher of the Year competition at Orange County Department of Ed. And great news that Allison Goodlander, teacher at Benson Elementary School, was named one of the County Teachers of the Year. Congratulations to both Rick and Allison. They represent the best of all Tustin Unified School teachers. One of the district's highlights this year is the Legacy Magnet Academy. It's the district's newest school of choice, offering grades 6 through 12, which is a new middle school and high school on the same campus. We're very fortunate to have the partnership with the City of Tustin that made this school possible. It's only through the City Council's willingness to forward fund future tax revenues that allowed us to build this school and open it this year. I want to thank the current and past council members and city managers. Now here's Dr. Jennifer Harrison, principal, and some of her students and staff to share their experience.
Legacy Magnet Academy is the newest school in Tustin Unified for students in grades 6 through 12. Our focus is TIDE, which is Technology, Innovation, Design, and Entrepreneurship. And really our heavy emphasis is on entrepreneurship piece and teaching students the soft skills as well as the academics to be successful in the business world or whatever endeavor they may choose to pursue after their high school career. So I think if I could share one thing with our community, specifically about Legacy Magnet Academy, is it's just how the face of education is changing and how school looks quite different than when we were kids. School nowadays, and really at Legacy, we're embracing having students work in groups, working on problems that they see around them in their community, in their state, in their country, across the globe, and really tackling those problems, trying to come up with solutions and figuring out ways that they can make the world a better place. And so it's just such a different environment than what we experience as students. It's not just about the academics, it's about the whole experience and how we're creating students that are going to make changes in the world.
I'm excited to be at Legacy Magnet Academy because I can be in an engaging environment with other students. Well, the first thing I found out when I came on campus is that the campus is beautiful. Like, if you've seen it, it's a really wonderful school. Another one of the first things I thought when I came on campus is my goal was to make friends, which I ended up doing by the end of the day. So my first experience on campus was great. One thing I'm thankful for Tustin Unified is the teachers that strive to have their students succeed.
It's just a very special place because of all the people who make it Legacy Magnet Academy. I have to say that as a teacher, I've been very impressed with the caliber of students that we have in our classrooms. We have robotics students, we have artists, we have actors, students who are into cooking and baking and graphic design. I mean, just the breadth of the talent that these students have has been a surprise and just fun to see and fun to teach every day. So.
Our next exciting development is the Sycamore Magnet Academy, also launched this school year. It's another school of choice that was created by merging the dual language immersion program with Curry Middle School and Thorman Elementary. Let's hear from Principal Rafael Plasencia and Sycamore teachers.
Sycamore Magnet Academy is a TK through 8th grade school. It allows the students to really extend the time to explore their interest in global awareness, media arts, communication, and or the Spanish dual immersion program. We also offer the career and technical education pre-pathways, where the students are not only learning the arts, but they're using technology to really address the media and entertainment. We also have the Model United Nations, where the students are going to go through the opportunities of exploring diplomacy and international relations, which really addresses the Model United Nations. We also have the Global Awareness, where the students will be able to go ahead and operate with new ideas and other perspectives reflecting the process and the skills that are affecting the world. We also have Project Lead the Way, using science as a problem method to really go ahead and gain wisdom and growth in computer science, engineering, and biomedical sciences. What really makes us special, though, is the fact that we operate as a family. When you join Sycamore Magnet Academy, you're joining a family. We brought two schools together, an elementary and a middle school, and we've never been so close as we have been today.
Me gustaría que la comunidad supiera que Sycamore Magnet Academy es una escuela con un gran equipo de maestros que están ofreciendo una excelente educación en 2 idiomas para los que gusten, y si quieren solamente en inglés, también ofrecemos esa opción para las familias que les guste.
Yeah, Sycamore Magnet Academy is going to be a very unique destination for learning. I think the great thing about Sycamore Academy is you're going to have a range of experiences as a young person to sample so that you know kind of what to specialize in later. And that's unique that a traditional school may not be able to offer. I mean, you have digital storytelling, you have globalization and learning about culture, you have music, we have an entrepreneurial study program, we have a middle school next door to learn from, we have great athletics, we've got very unique music teachers. There's so much to try out and find out where can you maximize your strengths in your particular interest. It's fantastic in that regard. And I think that the kids are excited to have that opportunity to have choice. And that's a big deal nowadays. And for a teacher, it's just a dream come true.
So, awards, recognitions, and the school year was marching forward. This next image, I think, demonstrates how we were all feeling. Strong, optimistic, ready for anything. And then 2020 hit. It was a hard beginning to 2020, and I want to share just some of the headlines. December 31st, doctors in Wuhan, China began treating about a dozen people for a strange pneumonia that a few days later was identified as the novel coronavirus. In January 11th, China reported its first COVID-19 death. In January 26th, Orange County had its first confirmed case. And just a few days later, the World Health Organization declared a global health emergency. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, Europe recorded its first COVID-19 death. And 2 weeks later, the first U.S. death on February 29th. March 13th, the President declared a national emergency. and Tustin Unified held its last day of in-person classes. We went on spring break that next week. We came back on March 23rd, and the staff had a single day of planning and training, and on March 24th began providing distance learning to all students. What a roller coaster ride the spring of 2020 became. Instructional changes just since March 13th, when we were doing normal school. We then moved to March 23rd through the May 30th in our distance learning phase. Now we refer to that as distance learning 1.0. Next, in August 13th, when we came back to school, we had a new distance learning program, Distance Learning 2.0. And then finally, we began in-person classes September 24th through 29th, with students still learning at home and joining classes live from there, and we refer to that as Distance Learning 3.0. These kind of instructional changes are incredibly complex and took a team effort from teachers, ed services, and information technology. I'm very proud of the work that everybody did to make 3 different instructional strategy changes within about a 5-month period. Any one of these changes would normally have taken 3 to 4 years on a normal implementation cycle. Our staff worked hard and they worked fast, and we continue to learn. Our distance learning model in the spring of 2020 included synchronous and asynchronous lessons, that is, live and independent learning for students from home. In order to do that, we had to deploy an additional 1,380 devices, but not all of the families had connections to the internet, so those devices needed connecting, and we distributed another 500 hotspots and gave assistance to families as they signed up through local internet service providers. The device distribution was handled beautifully. Appointments were made, social distancing and mask wearing were implemented, and we safely were able to deploy those extra 1,380 devices. In Tustin Unified, we're fortunate to have passed Measure S by the community back in 2012. So our grades 5 through 12 already had one-to-one devices in their hands. However, we needed to provide those additional devices to students in kindergarten through 4th grade. We have one of the finest fiber optic networks anywhere in a public school system. However, that fiber optic network is really designed to provide service from our 28 school sites. Our IT department has worked hard to make sure that everybody, students and teachers, can access the fiber optic network from home. That provides a safe and fast, reliable network connection for our students. I want to give a big shout out to our nutritional services department. As one worker told me, kids have to eat, and so through the spring and summer, even into this year, our nutritional services department has worked every day to make sure that meals are prepared and provided to students. In the spring, they provided 264,000 grab-and-go meals. Thank you, Nutritional Services. So it's spring 2020, and all teaching and learning is happening from home. Teachers created their home studios where they could broadcast to students. The teachers showed great creativity and ingenuity in trying to get their lessons across. They also tried to build community and encourage students with positive messages. Through it all, True Blue Tustin Public Schools Foundation continued to support teachers, students, and staff. It was an incredible spring where drive-by celebrations became a norm. And our students continued to demonstrate care and gratitude to their community, sending letters and providing goodies to our emergency health care workers in the local area. Schools even continued to promote school spirit with spirit days at Heidemann, Arroyo, and of course, Parent Appreciation Week. The parents especially played an important role in the lives of students this year. We know that parents are students' first and most important teacher in life, and this year that became even more true. Besides helping with homework, often parents were helping with first instruction. They also had to balance childcare with their own work needs. economic strains that may have happened as a result of the pandemic, and the social and emotional welfare of their entire family. We really appreciate all that parents do for our students and for our schools. I want to share a few slides that indicate just how difficult the spring of 2020 was. You know, it was a leap year, 29 days in February, a really unusual leap year, 300 days in March, and 5 years in April. Of course, that also made the importance of a variety of things in our lives change in status. You can see and compare this chart to your own experience of what remained important and what gained importance or lost importance. Speaking of parents, we asked more survey questions of parents in the spring of 2020 than we had in the last 8 years. We had some good news. Parents in the spring of 2020 responded with an 80 to 90% positivity rate about the quality of the instruction, the availability of staff, and the ability of their students to perform the work. The one lacking was that struggle to make connections with schools. We also surveyed teachers about their distance learning experience, whether they had the correct materials, resources, and support to be able to connect with students, and the positive response rate was incredible, 80 to 90%. Again, the only lower response rate was in making a connection to school and work. Given the survey results about maintaining a connection to school, we doubled down our efforts. We held our first virtual film festival in the school district with 2 events, one for elementary schools and one for secondary schools, hosted by student MCs. We had virtual movie nights, a virtual variety show, and we continued to celebrate our staff with Secretary's Day. The staffs did an incredible job reaching out to students, making home visits to celebrate scholarship winners, and of course, our senior graduates from the class of 2020. Nothing was as painful for parents, students, and staff than to not have regular graduations for our seniors of that class. The class of 2020 missed out on their normal graduation, prom, and many other senior activities. In their places were virtual awards, drive-by celebrations, and a virtual graduation. All of these were done because the district needed to comply with social distancing and crowds regulations put out by the state and county health officials. In the spring, distance learning was difficult for many of our students. In response, our special education department conducted assessment clinics throughout the summer, bringing individual students in to assess their learning. That leads us to the fall of 2020. We knew a couple of things had to happen. First, we needed more structure and accountability. So this year, in the fall of 2020, attendance is being taken, traditional grades are being given, home visits are being made to students who are not connecting online, and we needed to deploy even more one-to-one devices and hotspots to ensure student success. And of course, our nutritional services staff continue to feed our students. So far this fall, serving 91,000 grab-and-go meals. But the question is how to provide that kind of experience. We knew going into this year that we needed to balance 2 things. First of all, student and staff safety. Nothing is more important than our health. And secondly, we had to find a way to get back to in-person classes. While the spring was a success for many students and families, it presented a severe challenge to some of our most challenged students. And so in-person classes was a priority of our school board and many of our parents. How to balance those 2 issues of safety and in-person classes became one of our most significant challenges. I want to thank and acknowledge the Tustin Educators Association leadership for meeting with district staff throughout the summer to design our current hybrid instructional plan. Currently, the district is in the hybrid and live streaming instructional model. We began those on September 24th at our elementary schools and September 29th at our middle schools and high schools. This model was developed really in response to the improving Orange County COVID numbers, where infection rates were going down as well as the positivity testing rates were going down, and in response to parent initiative to return kids to school. The hybrid model really gave parents the choice of choosing whether their students would learn from home or learn in class. Currently, there's approximately 60-40 split, with 60% of families sending their kids to school and 40% remaining to learn at home. Of that 60%, those students are broken into two cohorts at each school, an A and a B cohort, and the first group at the elementary school would attend in the morning session and the second group in the afternoon. At the secondary levels, the kids are on alternating day schedules of Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. The most challenging part of this model is that the teacher is both teaching the students who are in front of them in class, as well as the students who are Zooming in from home, both those students who are long-term distance learning students and the off cohort. This presents particular challenges that our staff and students continue to wrestle with, but have come a long way in figuring out how to do that in an effective manner to improve student achievement. Let's hear from our teachers and students.
It's been nice to see some familiar faces, even just being around the teachers. It feels like we're back kind of ish to normal. It is nice to see students in class, and being able to walk around a classroom, even though it's so different. Students have been really good about keeping masks on, staying apart, sanitizing, doing all the things that we need to do to stay safe, but it's been nice to have students back on campus. The prep leading up to hybrid learning, I will say was a lot more intensive than I anticipated, but it was just a lot more levels kind of added. So for me in my class, I've got the iPad, which works as my video, so it's just staring directly at me in the front of the room. I've also got my school computer on, which is just joined my Zoom as a participant, so I can share my screen so the kids in class can see up front. And now we've got the TV in the back. So the TV in the back, I'll extend my personal laptop, so the Zoom kids will be on a gallery view and the TV in the back. So the TV works as my sound. If they have questions, I want to unmute and ask. My personal laptop in front of me is like my home base, where I can share my screen. I'll use the whiteboard. I'll do everything on that laptop. That works as my mic. And then the iPad, like I said, in front of me is my camera. So it's multi-layered. We always have to make sure that we know that students are joining through the Zoom, making sure if they're in the meeting room that we're adding them to the class, all while students are in class. So it's been a balancing act for sure.
This experience so far coming back to school, so far it's been good. For the most part, it's been good. Don't get me wrong, it's a little weird at first, but like I said, you adapt and then things start to work out. You have your teachers and staff members around you to kind of help you out and work through things. Like some questions you would need, you don't really have access to that, or you have to make a phone call after phone call to get to your teachers. But I feel like being on campus, being around them, it's a lot more flexible, and they're working with you to help you out. You need help, they're always open and willing to go help you out. Like if they go to the next step, it's not just help you out, they're trying to like really help you get to your destination, your goal. Yeah, that's one thing I really appreciate about this group.
I feel very happy. I hadn't seen my friends in over half a year, so that was very fun. And I like going to school. At the beginning, I didn't really want to go to school, but now seeing like you guys taking the precautions and everything, I love school now. Like I like going on school on Mondays and Thursdays. It's just so fun being here in campus. The benefits of returning back to school are like you get to focus more, you get to see like person to person, and I think that makes me focus more and like actually be there, and I get to learn more. I like the community to know that Tustin Unified has done a great job by taking all the precautions, cleaning every class, and just making everyone staying 6 feet apart. And I think that's very good.
So balancing the hybrid students as well as those at home is definitely challenging. I'd say the biggest thing we did to prepare was a lot of dry runs with when the kids were all at home. trying to act as if we had students here at school and just asking them to be patient, testing different things out, testing different combinations of screens out and devices out, and seeing what worked best. And that way we were able to sort of troubleshoot before they were actually sitting there in front of us, split, some here and some at home.
Distance learning is going really well for me. My teacher, Miss McMillan, always makes sure to answer my questions within the same day, and she makes sure our classwork is easy to get to. She always tries to find easier ways for us to turn in our assignments too. There are some things that are different about distance learning than in school. Like, we see each other at the beginning of the day in school and we get to socialize, but in distance learning, we see each other at the beginning, but we don't get to socialize. So we have to schedule times outside of school to interact with each other.
School nurses, principals, administrators, and other staff spend an incredible amount of time throughout the summer and early fall preparing for the safe return of students. Just some of our protocols to make sure that students remain safe include face mask wearing by students and staff, distancing, signage, control of student flow so that students are always going in one direction, hand washing or hand sanitizing. In some cases, that meant that we had to add additional hand washing stations. Symptom screening for every student and staff, so we installed thermometers in every classroom in the district. Desk guards, so that students sitting at their desk had an extra layer of protection. And of course, cleaning and disinfecting classrooms. The district's Maintenance and Operations Department has played a key role in providing a safe environment for students and teachers. Besides their normal cleaning and the disinfecting that they're doing during the time of COVID, they've actually built plexus shields that are being put up in high traffic areas. They helped install the desk shields that are on every campus, and they're maintaining our campuses. In addition, M&O staff remain on call for any urgent issues that are needed by schools. I want to take a moment to stress just how complex and challenging the live streaming model is to every teacher and the entire district system. We appreciate that our IT department made all of this possible, that purchasing got all the equipment ready, that our educational services team worked on the model itself as well as curriculum and lesson design, and then of course our teachers for making it all happen. It was an incredible effort, and at this point we're only 4 weeks into that effort and we continue to learn. That is our commitment from Tustin Unified School District, that we will continue to make improvements so that this program works for everybody, whether you're live streaming from home or you're sitting in class. When we brought employees and students back to campus, we all know that there will be positive COVID cases among us. The most important thing was how to trace and communicate and then of course isolate those incidents. First of all, the social distancing, mask wearing, desk guards, hand sanitizing, temperature taking, all of the precautions that we take are so important so that we keep everybody safe. But when there is a positive case, we have a team of people trained at the district office to trace the contacts of those people with a positive test for COVID-19. Once that tracing has been completed, a phone call or conversation is held with every person who came in close contact with the infected person. Close contact is defined as being within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes with that person. Those folks are asked to quarantine for 14 days and monitor for symptoms and to get tested. The next group of people that are contacted are folks who might have had low exposure, somebody that came in contact but not close contact. They stayed their distance away and they were not with them for more than 15 minutes. Those folks receive, both staff and students, a low exposure notice, and they're not quarantined, but asked to monitor themselves for symptoms. And should symptoms arise, to stay at home and go get a test. And then finally, at any work location or school site where a case has occurred, we notify all employees and families at that site that a case has occurred. About 2 weeks ago, we implemented the Tustin Unified COVID-19 dashboard to further communicate with the entire community when and where we have positive cases. You can see a lot of zeros on the dashboard, which is good news. Very few cases at very few schools and work locations have occurred so far. This dashboard can be found at the Tustin Unified School District webpage, which is tustin.k12.ca.us, and the dashboard is the very first top left button on the home page. When we do have positive cases on a campus or work location, we work closely with the Orange County Healthcare Agency and CHOC to determine next steps. In some cases, depending on the severity, classes may be closed for 14 days for quarantining, or if multiple classrooms have symptomatic students, an entire school could be closed. Should 7 of the district schools be closed at once, the entire district might be required to close and return to distance learning. One of the most frustrating things about the COVID metrics, I think, is that there is currently no metric for returning to normal. We're all familiar now with the red, well, I guess it's the purple, red, orange, and yellow system that the state has introduced, but none of those colors return schools to normal. However, there is fast development continuing on a coronavirus vaccine, and I have been in touch with members of the California Vaccine Task Force who predict that a vaccine will be available by the end of 2020. We all hope that between the vaccine and the social distancing and the mask wearing and all of the other safety protocols, we will be able to return to in-person school sometime during 2021. In the meantime, half of the priorities of the district that we set each year, we have 6 goals and then priorities underneath each one, approximately half this year are related to responding to and planning for the COVID pandemic. Tustin Unified is well prepared, and we continue to make improvements as we go along. I get a lot of questions about high school athletics, and I just want to make mention that we are continuing under the order that was put out on August 3rd by the state regarding youth sports. That includes conditioning only outdoors, no indoor practices. Our athletes maintain social distancing, and we have no games or contests. The CIF, which governs high school athletics, is working with the state on a plan to try and reintroduce athletic competition sometime in 2021. As this information develops, our coaches and athletic directors will be kept abreast. That's a lot of information that we've just covered, and I just want to assure you that the pandemic, COVID response, student safety, and learning for all are among our highest priorities, and we'll continue to do that work as the pandemic continues. However, there is a lot of other work to be done in the school district, and I want to turn our attention now to a couple of challenges coming up that we'll all face. I wanted to discuss the student enrollment in Tustin Unified School District. Approximately 4 years ago, Tustin began to decline in student enrollment, very slightly, but that slight decline has gained some speed, putting Tustin Unified in the same boat as almost every other district in Orange County. You can see that this past year, we lost 700 students between last fall and this fall. To put that into perspective, most of our elementary schools do not have 700 students in them. So we in essence lost one elementary school's worth of students. Where are they going? Well, the birth rate is lower than it's ever been in California. And then, of course, migration from other states into California are down. Migration from California out to other states is up. Those U-Haul trailers seem to be only going in one direction. And immigration into the state is down. So the enrollment continues to be a challenge. This is important because it affects our budget. And the budget is much more difficult to cut as fast as we lose students. So there will probably become some reductions in our spending in the next few years. That brings us to the California budget. Of course, every school district in the state of California gets our money from the state. So as the state economy goes and tax revenues are generated, so go district budgets. California started this fiscal year with a $54.3 billion deficit, an incredible hole. Yet they fully funded schools for the 2021 school year in recognition of the challenges that the pandemic have placed on school districts. They did this by dipping into the state's rainy day fund. They directed all federal stimulus funds toward schools, and they implemented budget deferrals. Budget deferrals are an accounting maneuver in which they say they've given us money this year, but they actually deliver it to us the next year. So that works for a short period of time but can't be used for the long haul. The 21-22 school funding is uncertain. A lot of rides on whether a second federal stimulus is approved, whether additional deferrals and accounting gimmicks are used, or if school budgets will be cut. In Tustin Unified, we'll begin discussing immediately reductions that can be made in the spring budget as well as the 21-22 school year budget. The next important issue that we'll be addressing this year is equity and justice. As we all know, last spring, the killing of George Floyd by the Minnesota Police Department created civil unrest and protests throughout the nation, even the world. As a result, many school districts are taking a look at our practices and procedures, as well as our curriculum and instructional strategies, to ensure that they encourage the achievement of all students. In Tustin Unified School District, we've created an Equity and Justice Task Force that has students, parents, teachers, counselors, principals, clerks, paraeducators, media technicians, and community members to help us take a look at our practices and procedures and find ways that we can do better. Two quick examples of the kind of work that needs to be done. The first is our A through G rate, which measures college readiness. A student who is A through G completed meets the University of California entrance requirements. In Tustin Unified, our number is 67.1% of graduating seniors, which is very, very good, especially compared to the Orange County and state numbers. But you can see that our Hispanic students only complete that rate at 54.7%, Black students at 40.6%, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students at 52.8%. We can do better. The next is graduation rates. Tustin has a graduation rate of 94.5%. Our Hispanic graduation rate is very close at 93.5%. Our Black graduation rate at 84.2%, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged at 92.4%. So we have improved all of these numbers over the last several years, but we know that our work is not done until every student maximizes their learning potential and has success. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a challenge to everybody in our country and, of course, everybody in our local community. But I'm proud of the work that the Tustin Unified School District staff has done. We take a Tustin Unified pledge that says that we're going to do everything we can to ensure student success. And it doesn't say that we only do that when it's easy. We do that all the time, and we'll continue that important work. Thanks to you, parents, community members, TPSF, our school board, our staff, for the role that you play in ensuring every student maximizes their achievement in Tustin Unified School District. Go TUSD.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin. We are grateful for your leadership and the tremendous work you have all been doing for students. And thank you all for joining us today. This wraps up our very first virtual State of the Schools event. We are glad you could join us. Our generous sponsors allowed us to offer this event free of charge. If you enjoyed the event, I ask that you consider making a donation to help us continue our mission of mobilizing the community to further excellence in our Tustin Unified Schools. We are grateful for donations of any amount. They really do make an impact, and we truly are better together. Again, thank you for joining us today. On behalf of all of us at the Tustin Public Schools Foundation, I wish you good health. Enjoy our final credits.
Tustin Auto Center and Tustin Public School Foundation have been best buddies for over 20 years. When someone buys or leases a new car, each dealer puts $50 in an envelope.
On Halloween, a guy with thick glasses and an adding machine counts up all the envelopes and writes a big fat check.
The money goes to stuff we need to succeed in school, like computers, supplies, and after-school programs.
Tell everyone you know to go to Tustin Auto Center and make your best deal.
Let's support our school drive for Tustin Auto Center and our Tustin Public School Foundation.
Hey everyone, it's Philip Cutler here, founder and chief executive officer of Paper. So proud to be supporting the foundation again this year. The work that you do for the community is so important. So congratulations on everything that you've achieved, and we're wishing you all an incredible 2020-2021 school year.
Learning meets life at FLVS Global School, the online education solution for kindergarten through 12th grade. Get ahead with more than 140 dynamic courses, including honors, AP, and more, taught by teachers who inspire and challenge. Enjoy the flexibility of online learning to help your dreams take flight. Anytime, anywhere. You own your future. Explore our options at flvsglobal.net. Reach new levels with FLVS Global School, where learning meets life.